So welcome, 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 our remarkable colleague, Joanne. We so appreciate your consistent leadership and solidarity. And as always, at SETC, we begin all things by giving thanks to the original stewards of the various lands we're on. We give thanks to all our ancestors, all those who toiled without compassion or compensation. We give thanks to all our elders and community stalwarts whose shoulders we stand on as we build, share, and learn together for our collective liberation and sovereignty. So Joanne, can you please introduce yourself to our listeners and viewers and share a bit about your remarkable work?
Yeah, sure. So hi everybody, my name is Joanne Nowak, she, her pronouns. I am calling from Calgary, so Treaty 7 territory here in Alberta. I come, as so many of us, from a family of immigrants. My parents came over, my grandparents came from Poland after the Second World War. My father immigrated from Poland in his late 20s, and we moved a lot. It was in the blood, so we moved a lot across Canada and the United States. So that sort of just really shaped, just gave me sort of some values of humility and tolerance and respect for difference, and really sparked in me an interest in understanding how change happens and just context. There are different communities, different challenges, different opportunities. So I was always interested in how does change happen and why doesn't it happen? Which led to so much time in school and studying sociology, and then the opportunity to work in different sectors. So from government to academia, private sector, and nonprofit sector, was always fascinated in the different ways these sectors approached social change, the different opportunities they had, the different barriers they had, and it's always sort of my work.
Incredible. So my next question, what's inspiring you right now? What has you curious or what's keeping you up at nights?
Yeah, so I think what has me curious right now is just the moment we're in here in Calgary. So Calgary is in this really defining time. It's growing at an unprecedented rate in terms of folks coming into the country and this province and the city. So that brings with it so much opportunity, but also some growing pains. And so we have huge, as many places in Canada, but housing, we've had sort of the highest rent increases. We have a third percentage increase in the use of food banks in Calgary from last year. So there's some real challenges, but with all of this tremendous talent and new folks coming into Calgary, this potential to be leveraging all of these amazing ideas and backgrounds to tackle these challenges. So I'm really curious. What keeps me up at night is, what is the story we want to tell about Calgary and what kind of city this is and what it wants to become and the kind of life that we want to have for Calgarians who live here and are helping build that city. So the work we do here at the Social Innovation Hub is part of that, and sort of putting equity and inclusion and positive social change sort of at the forefront of harnessing the innovation ecosystem to do that kind of work, which I know SETC has similar philosophy and values, which is amazing. So yeah, the moment we're in and the potential, and just really feeling the urge to make sure that we rise to that moment.
Incredible. Thank you so much for your candor and all the context you provided. So perfect segue to my next question. Do you have a set of key priorities right now in your work you'd like to share or amplify to our community of practice?
Yeah, so the Calgary innovation ecosystem is growing. Like even in the last few years, it went from being valued at $2.7 billion to $5 billion. So there's a lot of people, a lot of resources, a lot of investment there, which is amazing. But as with anything, when things are growing, right, we want to know what's actually working. There's a lot of activity, but are we moving the needle, and how do we know if we are? So for us at the Social Innovation Hub, a big priority is our impact measurement. So we're really trying to be a lot more robust about the data that we're collecting, and that we're really clear on our theory of change, and that we're testing and iterating. We're doing lean experiments in terms of the services we're offering to innovators and entrepreneurs, impact centered and impact curious. Is it helping? Is it helping them move along in their journey? And if not, then let's tweak that. So at the founder level, sort of trying to be really clear on if our services are having an impact, but then also, helping our founders to more robustly track the impact that they're having on our local economy, on our provincial economy. giving them those tools to do that impact measurement as well. And then at the broader ecosystem level, we really believe in being founder-centered and in that relational approach, but we also believe that it matters the context in which we are sending these founders out. We won't work with them hand in hand forever. They can always come back to us, but for us, sort of the stage is first pilot to first investment. So after that, what kind of ecosystem are we helping create where they can thrive, where their work is valued, where barriers are acknowledged for folks who are coming from different backgrounds and that we're working on them. So measuring the kind of systems change work we're working at the ecosystem level to make it more inclusive is another thing we're trying to be more sort of robust and specific and track.
Incredible. So what is your ultimate goal and what does success look like and feel like to you and your colleagues?
Yeah, so Calgary has Calgary Innovation Coalition, so the sort of network of folks in the innovation ecosystem has a goal of creating 1,000 new tech startups by 2031. And they started this sort of a 10-year goal, which is amazing, right? As a way to galvanize the really rich collaboration nature and spirit that is here in Calgary. So for us at the Social Innovation Hub, given our focus on startups that create social impact, we want to aim for 1/3 of those, of that 1,000, to center social impact at the DNA of those startups. And the reason why we picked 1/3 is because there is this research out there that says that once you tip any kind of organization or group by 1/3, you really change the culture. And it comes out of sort of the work and management literature that looked at representation on boards. And it was sort of finding what if you have one person in 10, they can become tokenistic, they can represent that group, be really challenging for them. It doesn't really change the group as a whole. 2 is better, but still it's sort of that group that seems the special interest group sometimes and has a hard time changing the dynamic. But once you get to 3, they start to be seen as individuals. And the points that they bring up, the issues that they bring up, start to be accepted as sort of part of the norm. And so drawing on that, we sort of have this goal of 1/3 because, again, we're sort of really looking at how do we make this innovation ecosystem not make social impact, social innovation as something siloed and a nice to have on its own, but really integrate it into the core of what kind of innovation ecosystem Calgary can become. So by shifting 1/3, we know that research suggests you're changing those dynamics. You're changing what is seen as normal and what is seen as something on the side. So that's sort of a goal that is our measure of success in a really broad way. But more individually, just making sure we have that relationship with founders that they feel supported, centered, and really taking a relational approach versus sort of a more transactional, sort of just getting as many founders through as possible is a really important North Star for us as well. So both the founder and the ecosystem level are sort of 2 key measures of success we have.
Yeah, I couldn't agree more. It's always unfortunate when folks are so focused on the outputs versus the outcomes or the transaction versus the transformation. So once again, I really appreciate those sentiments and the way you frame that. So my last question, do you have any closing thoughts or calls to action for our listeners and our viewers?
Yeah, so another thing I'm really excited about is just these different regional innovation hubs we have across the country. So Ontario has its amazing history and sort of breadth and depth in the different places in Ontario, which is amazing. And there's so much to learn from that. In BC, there's a growing rich ecosystem. And then in the prairies, you have Manitoba, Saskatchewan, and Alberta, and of course in Atlantic and Maritime. So I just think just drawing on that local context that matters so much, that shapes the challenges, the opportunities, the strengths of the communities and what they're putting on the table, just how we can be learning more from each other in the different regional approaches and what we are putting on the table and what we're learning in social innovation. So just partners who are interested in and of course you're doing that amazing work with this community of practice and SETSI and sort of getting these stories out there, but who are interested in impact measurement, who are interested in we often talk about scaling is another thing we're really interested in. So sort of expanding the definition of scaling beyond just growing market share and revenue, which is important for financial sustainability, of course. But when you're scaling a solution to really make it stick, And if we're talking in the social field, it's not just sort of increasing the number of products or services sold. It's right. It's how are you getting up into institutions and you're changing policies, and in community, how are you working with communities to shift mindsets and norms? And that's how that disruptive change really happens. So folks who are interested in thinking of scaling differently and tracking it and measuring it and testing it, and how does that actually happen? And how can you do that systems change along those different scaling pathways differently is something we're really interested in as well. And leveraging, of course, the university as an important partner. So here at Social Innovation Hub and Innovate Calgary, we are very closely connected to the University of Calgary, and we really think that harnessing universities to be those sort of change agents for social innovation alongside STEM-based innovation is a really powerful resource too. So regional hubs of social innovation and sort of just leaning into those regional differences and what we can learn from each other. Impact measurement and scaling are three kind of pieces we're really interested in, and would love to talk with anybody who wants to discuss those further.
Incredible. Thank you so much, Joanne, for your visionary leadership, your solidarity, and your clear commitment to community development. It's inspiring, and the work that you and your colleagues are doing is more than innovation. It's impact. It's impact. So I just really appreciate all that you're doing for so many. And as always at SETC, we close these conversations, these interviews, the way we began, by giving thanks to the original stewards, the various lands we're on. We give thanks to all our ancestors, all those who toiled, without compassion or compensation. We give thanks to all our elders and community stalwarts whose shoulders we stand on as we build, share, and learn together for our collective liberation and sovereignty. Thank you so much, Joanne. I appreciate you.
Thank you, Victor.